Greetings. During this week's class assignment, you're required to support your discussion post with both a peer-reviewed article and a scholarly article. I realize that some of you may not know the difference between peer-reviewed and scholarly, while others may have received information within other classes which may be contrary to my definition of peer-reviewed and scholarly. Please remember, while in this class you must utilize the definition I provide, and while in other classes you should follow the instructions of that professor. While the definition of peer-reviewed and scholarly should be the same within the criminal justice discipline, some disciplines such as political science, behavioral science, English, and biology utilize different definitions of peer review. All peer-reviewed journals are scholarly. However, not all scholarly articles are peer-reviewed. For example, if you look at the journal, which we have up here, Police Practice and Procedures, that is a peer-reviewed journal as well as a scholarly journal, which means the articles that are within that journal are peer-reviewed. However, information received from government websites such as the FBI and their Uniform Crime Report, they may contain scholarly information but is not considered to be peer-reviewed. So what is peer-reviewed? So if we look at this journal, Police Practices and Research, this is an academic journal, which is also another way of saying it is a peer-reviewed journal. In academic publishing, the goal of peer review is to assess the quality of an article submitted for publication within a scholarly journal. Before an article is deemed appropriate to be published in a peer-reviewed journal, it must undergo the peer-reviewed process. The process consists of the author of the article must submit it to the journal editor, who forwards the article to experts in the field. Because the reviewers specialize in the same scholarly area as the author, they are considered to be the author's peers, hence the word peer reviewers. So, for example, if your area of expertise or the area in which you're writing deals with police use of force, the article would be sent to other use of force experts who are considered the researcher or writer's peers, and then they conduct the peer review process. These impartial reviewers are charged with carefully evaluating the quality of the submitted manuscript. Manuscript is just simply another word for article. The peer reviewers check the manuscript for accuracy and assess the validity of the research methodology and the procedures that are used. If appropriate, they suggest revisions. If they find the article lacks in scholarly validity, rigor, they may reject it. Because the peer-reviewed journal will not publish articles that fail to meet the standards established by a given discipline, peer-review articles that are accepted for publications exemplify the best research in a particular field. Features of a peer-reviewed article. When you're determining whether or not the article you found is peer-reviewed or a peer-reviewed article, you should consider the following questions. Is the journal in which you found the article published or sponsored by a professional scholarly society, a professional association, or a university academic department? Does it describe itself as a peer-reviewed publication? To know that, check the journal's website. Did you find a citation for it in one of the databases that includes scholarly publications or peer-reviewed publications such as Criminal Justice Abstracts, EBSCOhost, Academic Search Complete, PsycInfo, and so on? Read the database descriptions to see if it includes peer-reviewed publications, scholarly publications, or both. As you're doing a search for peer-reviewed or scholarly publications, make sure that you restrict the searching area, meaning that you click specifically that you just want peer-reviewed articles. Is there an abstract at the beginning of the article? Is the tone of the article thoughtful, restrained, and serious? Does the article have footnotes and citations or other sources? Does the article have a bibliography or a list of references at the end? Are the author's credentials listed? Is the topic of the article narrowly focused and explored very, very deeply? Is the article based on either original research or authorities in the field as opposed to someone's personal opinions? Is the article written for readers with some prior knowledge of the subject? Um, if your field is criminal justice or social science or natural science, is the article divided into sections with headings such as an introduction, theory or background, methods, a discussion section, a literature review section, subjects, results, and a conclusion section? Okay, so how do we find peer-reviewed articles? The easiest and fastest way to find peer-reviewed articles is to search the Kingsborough Online Library database, which includes both peer-reviewed journals as well as scholarly journals. So open up a browser, type in the Kingsborough website address, kbcc.cuny.edu. It will populate, and then you need to come over to bring your mouse over to where it says library, click on library, and then it's going to bring you to the library homepage where you can look for books, one search, databases, reserves, journals, or you can send a question to the librarian. Depending on whether or not you have your library card or your library card barcode activated will determine whether or not you're able to access the databases from home or if you have to complete this section on campus. My password should be saved here, so we're going to go to databases. We want to go to the subject. Again, these instructions will help you in other classes if you're looking for articles or information on particular subjects. But here, so we're in criminal justice. We come down to criminal justice and we click go. Now it should bring me automatically to different databases, or it may ask me for my library barcode. So, okay, so my ID is already in there. If you have information or if you have questions, you can always contact the criminal justice librarian, who is Jennifer Noe, and her information is provided here. Okay, so here, these top sections: academic search complete, criminal justice abstracts with full text, and criminal justice databases, those are going to be more of your peer-reviewed journals. But again, we have both peer-reviewed and scholarly, so we can come down here and we can look at dissertations and theses, and we can look at other resources that are provided. Remember when I talked about specific organizations' websites? So if we look at the U.S. Department of Justice statistics, again, any information that comes from the Department of Justice is scholarly, but it may not necessarily be peer reviewed. So let's go back. Same thing with NYPD crime statistics. The information is correct, and it's scholarly. However, the information is not peer reviewed. So let's clear and let's go back up here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, we're going to go into academic search complete. It's asking me for my library barcode. So I need to put my library barcode in here in order for me to search this database. So I'll put it in here. So that's my barcode number, and in. So I want to look for a peer-reviewed article. So we're talking about police use of force. So I'll type in police use of force. Now, if I just put in police use of force and I click search, I should get, let's see, is it working? Did I get anything? Nothing. All right. Police use of FORCE. I want full text. When I come down here, I clicked on full text and I clicked on scholarly. And let's see. How is that? What am I doing? Alright, so it gave me a choice. Okay, so it gave me two. So let's. Alright, so it gave me two. But since, say, we're talking about your research topic is Rodney King, so let's put in Rodney King. Rodney King police brutality, and I want full text, and I want to make sure that they're scholarly peer reviewed. So I click here, and now I have 6,998 results that deal with, and these are all peer reviewed because I clicked peer reviewed here. Another way of knowing that they're peer reviewed is by it'll say an academic journal. So we go academic journal, and it gives me, and it goes on and on. So let's if you know an author, person that wrote. So let's see. You can search by author, Chapman Christopher, and let's see. Oh, what do we do here? Alright, so it's Chapman Christopher, but we don't want to search in all fields. We just want to know by author, anything that Chapman has written. So every article that Chapman has written that's peer reviewed will come up here. So now let's say if we want to refine it, we want to say use of force. So again, so Chapman has written one article that deals with police use of force. So now that we have this one article, let's use this as an example to see whether or not it is peer reviewed. Well, we know it's peer reviewed because we click the peer reviewed. Maybe let's make sure we click peer reviewed, and we see that it's in an academic journal. So the first thing that we can do is we can just click on the article, and it's going to give us specific information about the article before we even go into it. The abstract will give you general information about the article so you can determine whether or not it supports an opinion you have or if it's in opposition to an opinion you have. Also, if you look for a publisher's logo, and then you can go to the publisher's website to determine whether or not this publisher is peer reviewed. Okay, so it has an abstract, gives you the author's name, gives you the contact information. Sometimes what you may be able to do as a student, when you read an article, if you have a question, there's no reason that you cannot send an email to the author of the article and ask them a particular question. And I'm delighted when students or people that have read my articles contact me and ask me questions. So there's keywords about the article. So now, how do we cite this? Well, let's talk about citing in a second. All right, so now, so we want to talk about police brutality. So, it seems pretty interesting, so I want to look at the article. So you come over to here where it says full text, PDF full text. You click on the PDF full text, and then the whole article comes up. And the article will have information again, the journal. So this is in the Journal of Police Practices and Research, Volume 13, Number 5, and it was published in October of 2012. The author is from Kingsborough Community College, City University of New York, in the United States. So again, we talked about it having an abstract. The abstract is this introduction here. Okay, so it has that. There's a literature review. Talks about the methodology which is used, talks about the survey, which is an instrument where we ask questions, the limitations of the research, the results, some charts. Hey, this guy wrote a pretty good article. and then a discussion, and then it lists all of the. Then it has a conclusion, and then there should be a reference page, a reference page, and in the bottom it should tell you about the author. Things about the author, their research areas, where they work, what they do. And then there's references or bibliography page. Know when you're making a bibliography page, all the articles need to be in alphabetical order, starting with the last name of the first author. And okay, so we have that. So let's go back. I was talking about citations. So within criminal justice, we're going to use an APA citation, and we talked about having to use an APA citation. Different disciplines will have different forms of citations. If you look here on the side where it says tools, if you come down to where it says cite, if you click on cite, it should take you to another page where it will give you the citation for, it'll show you, it will cite this article for you. So let's see, will it do it? Is it working? Am I not being patient? That's it, let's close it. Uh-oh. Let's go back. Please spell Christopher H-R-I-S-T-O-P-H-E-R. We have to put this at, I want author. Search. Boom. Okay, go over here to cite. Okay, so now it'll give you the cites or citation. How do we cite the article? Again, there are several, probably 7 or more ways in which you can cite an article. Different disciplines have different ways of citing. Again, since this is criminal justice, we're using the APA citation. So all criminal justice reports that you write or reading should be cited in the APA format. I believe English uses the MLA citations. MLA, they would cite it this way. Then there's Harvard. Harvard has there's a Harvard. Yeah, there is. Harvard has a way of doing it. There's a lot of different. There's the Chicago. So there are different forms of citation, but know that you should use the APA format. So any article that you find in a database, if you come over to citations, it'll tell you how to cite it. So this is how you would cite it. It would be Christopher C. 2012, use of force for minorities, communities is related to police education, age, experience, and ethnicity. Then the journal, police practice and procedures, it gives you the volume, and you would cite all of this. If the APA, let's see here, if you have something and you're not sure how do we cite it and you didn't get it from a database, there's an APA website, which is right here, and it will, anything you have, it'll tell you a journal article, how do you cite it, an online magazine, an online newspaper, personal communications, a book, audio, a picture, a podcast, so all these different things, conference papers. How do we cite these things within a report or in our discussions? You would come here to the APA style reference. Okay. I think that's it. Remember, a textbook is scholarly, but it is not peer reviewed.